Baby Fit Challengers. I am here today to bring you 10 minutes of stretching. You probably already did all of those lunges that were part of the challenge for today. So you might be feeling a lot of sensations in your quads, the back of the hamstrings, perhaps your glutes, your hip flexors, the outer part of the hips, everything in this region might be kind of fired up, maybe even your calves. So we're going to go through some stretches today that are going to target some of those areas for you. Before you begin, a couple of props that might be handy to make these poses a little more comfortable would be two thick, firm blankets or bath towels are a great option. You can just have those folded up nice and thick so that you've got two available for you. We all have very different bodies and anatomies. So it can be helpful to have props to modify and make things more comfortable because we're looking for a stretch and not pain. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is stretch out our feet. So we're going to come to a Virasana, modified Virasana, also known as Hero's Pose. I'm going to bring both of the blankets stacked up behind me just to bring the ground a little bit closer. I start on my knees. If I have knee pain, I can also put a blanket underneath my knees. Toes are tucked. Sit your butt back on your heels, hands to rest on your thighs. Close your eyes and just let your gaze drop. Take a few breaths here. Try to slow down your breath. You might be feeling a lot of sensation in the arches of your feet. If that becomes too intense, you can always shift your weight forward slightly and then back a little bit. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Really nice. Let's go ahead and walk our fingertips back to the blankets behind us, lifting our hips slightly, curling the tailbone under, increasing the stretch in the front quads. Hands can also come to the ground if that's accessible and we want more stretch there. The lower you go with the hands, the more sensation you'll get. The higher your hands, it'll take pressure off the knees and reduce sensation if it feels intense. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Really good. All right, walk yourself up. Let's come into Janu Shirshasana. First thing I'm going to do is take one of my folded blankets to the ground. I'm going to sit my butt, my sits bones down on the edge of that blanket. Okay, I'm extending my left leg long at a diagonal. My right foot comes in towards the thigh at a check mark shape. If I have a tendency to hyperextend the knees, I'm going to take my second blanket, roll it up, set it underneath the knee for some support. This leg does not have to be perfectly straight. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead, and exhale, softly fold over your extended legs. Just let your hands fall where they will. Let your toes be soft. Take a moment to pay attention to the back of your knees. If you notice pain or sensation there, increase the bend in your knee or back out of the fold. We're looking for a stretch, not pain. Let your shoulders soften. Take tension out of the toes and the fingers. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And exhale out the mouth. Walk yourself up. Let's switch that to the second side. Extending right leg, left foot makes that check mark shape. You can bring the blanket with us if you'd like. Inhale, lift those arms up overhead, find length in the spine. And exhale, fold forward. Think about getting length in your low back. And rather than being concerned about getting your forehead to your knee, think about getting your belly to your thigh, your chest to your knee. And we're just thinking about that. We're moving towards that position. We might not all be there. Some of us might be up here. This is great too. You don't need to feel a really great sensation to get benefit out of the pose. Noticing any pain, stretching, any differences between sides. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And soften, exhale. Lovely. Paschimottanasana is where we're headed next. That's just a straight leg stretch. So I'm going to turn so that you can see me a little bit better. I'm still keeping that blanket behind my sits bone, and I still have the option to bring the folded up blanket underneath of my knees. I can have a little bit of space between my legs, side to side, right leg. Inhale, arms come up overhead, find that leg in the spine, and exhale, Fold forward again, just letting your hands drop where they will. Resist the urge to grab hold of your ankles, your feet. Take any tension out of the backs of the legs. Let your chin drop in towards your chest. Try to relax the muscles around in front of the shins. Notice how the breath fills up the upper back, the shoulders, back of the lungs and the ribs. As we breathe in, it travels 360 degrees around the spine. Pay attention to that here. Focusing on the breath can help take away intense sensations in our stretches. Awesome, go ahead and walk yourself back up. Baddha Konasana is where we're headed next. That is a bound angle pose. So still sitting up on my blanket. Again, if you feel like you don't need this blanket, you can get rid of it at any time. Soles of the feet come together. My knees are going to open up wide like a book. I have a lot of space between my heels and my pelvis. This is my preferred pose. This is going to bring more stretch into the outer hips and allow me to fold forward more. If you bring your heels closer to the pelvis, you're going to feel this more in the inner hips, and you might not fold as far forward. So find a position that works for you. I'm going to keep my feet further away from me, and then fold forward to any degree. The further your feet are from your body, the more you might be able to fold in. This pose is great with the feet far or near the body. As I said, it just changes the stretch. So there is no perfect way to do any of these poses. It's just finding a sensation that works for you, that feels good, and that doesn't bring pain. And sometimes that means a very subtle sensation. Sometimes it means a very big sensation. And sometimes we feel nothing at all. And that is also okay. Let your knees drop with gravity. Again, imagine your chin dropping down towards the chest. Deep breath in. Sigh it out. One more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Wonderful. Go ahead, walk ourselves up. Okay. We're going to take our feet wide. There's about 2 feet between my feet. Knees are bent. Let's windshield wiper the legs, just dropping the knees side to side. My knees are making about 90-degree angles here. The next time that my knees drop over to my left side, I'm going to pause, keep my knees at this 90-degree bend. I'm going to start to rotate my body, bring my hands in front of my left thigh, and walk my hands forward. Let me turn so that you can see. I'm coming down, lowering onto my elbows, maybe bringing my belly onto the floor completely. You can also stay up on your hands here. Find a position that feels comfortable. We're getting a big spinal rotation here. You might even feel this a little bit in the IT band. You might be getting a little bit of compression that feels good. And maybe even with your arms on the ground, maybe even a little rotation in the shoulders. Just notice all the places you feel it. And then gently walk yourself back up. And start to take those windshield wipers side to side again, just a few times. And then the next time our knees go to the right, we'll pause, take that twist on the opposite side, rotating so the fingers come outside of the thigh. Again, either staying up on your fingers if this is where you'd like to be today, or lowering onto the forearms or your belly. This is another spot where if you stay up higher, you might feel this a little bit more. I'm getting a stretch here in my right ribs. That feels really nice, so I'm going to stay upright. But if you lower it down, that might transfer the stretch to another area. So there is no right or wrong way to do these poses. It's just what you're looking for in the moment. It's easy to get caught up in what the pose looks like. Inhale. Exhale. All right. Walk yourself up. Let's take our legs wide. Wide angle pose. You can start with bent knees if this is more comfortable for your knees. If we hyperextend, hands come to the floor, start to slide those feet away from you a little bit, fold forward to any degree. For some of us, that might mean staying upright. Maybe point and flex your feet a couple of times here. Notice how that transfers the stretch. When you point your toes, you might feel more of a stretch on the upper part of the feet, the front of the shin. And when I flex, draw the toes towards the body, I feel this a lot in my calf. That feels really good. I'm gonna stay here. So choose a position that works for you, or maybe just keep moving through that pointing and flexion. Maybe close your eyes and just breathe. Soften the area around the glutes and the outer hips. Soften your belly. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Walk yourself up. We're just going to go through a brief supine pigeon and then come into a final resting pose where I will leave you. Make sure your blankets are stacked up nearby. Lower onto your back. Soles of the feet on the ground, knees bent. I'm crossing my right ankle over my left knee for supine pigeon, making a figure 4. I can stay here, gently pressing my knee away from me, or draw my thigh in towards the body, grabbing behind the thigh, maybe rocking side to side, massaging out the low back, taking this to any degree. Keeping a little bit of activity in my right foot just to protect the right knee. Awesome, and then we'll switch sides. Bring your feet back down. Left ankle crosses over right knee for a figure 4. Either stay here, gently pressing the left thigh away from you, or draw the legs close to your chest. Drag your hands around the right thigh, using maybe that left elbow to press the left thigh away. Again, you might rock side to side, notice differences between right and left. Maybe one feels tighter or more open or stiffer. Just noticing without judgment. We're not all perfectly symmetrical, and that's okay. Go ahead and release that down. Final pose, soles of the feet on the ground, coming into supported bridge, Satyabhama Sarvangasana. Go ahead and lift the hips up towards the sky. Take your stack of towels or blankets, slide it underneath of the butt horizontally, making sure there's no wrinkles so that when you set the butt down, your hips feel level, full butt is supported here. If you feel comfortable in this posture, take a minute to notice. You can stay here, or you can extend your legs long in front of you with some space between the legs. Take a moment, notice if your low back feels okay. Readjust the blanket up or down slightly if you need to. And then maybe reach your arms long overhead. Take a few deep breaths here. You can hang out here for another minute, another 5, another 7. I know you technically are only up for 10 minutes of stretching today, but if this feels really good and you just want to stay here a little longer, maybe even take a mini little shavasana or rest here, please feel free to do so. Just focusing on your breath, lengthening out the body and letting everything go soft. This is where I will leave you for today.